Hey guys, Professor Bill here, Comic Book University. I'm going to start trying to review a couple of current issues of comic books. The first one I'm going to do is Jessica Jones, issue number 1. This is 2016. Just trying to see how I feel about doing something like this. And starting off with an issue 1, it just makes life a lot easier. Explanation over, let's get into the comic book itself. Straight off the bat, Brian Michael Bendis is writing this again, and Michael Gaydos is penciling it again. And guys, we're talking about just the artwork here. It looks like just every single thing was hand brushed by Bob Ross. Put a happy little Jessica Jones over here, and a happy little punch to the teeth over there. It says right on the front cover that this is going to be not for kids, adults only and whatnot. I didn't see anything particularly bad in this comic, not like the original run. But the reason why I'm so happy about these two being involved in this comic is because these are the two guys who were involved in the original run of Jessica Jones back in the Max comics. They're a great team. The art and the writing goes perfectly together. These are the original creators of this character. Boom. Could not ask for any better. Okay, so I'm not going to try and act like I know what's going on here because I'm jumping right into this comic and Jessica Jones was in prison. Like, they didn't say which prison, but it looked like Alcatraz. I don't see how that could be. They're in New York City. But boom, she's on this prison island, and then they come down and say, okay, you're released, let's go. And she says, who bailed me out? They say, there's no bail. I don't think you understand that. This is actual prison. You're either here or you're not. And right now, you're not. They say, listen, it'll be another 45 minutes till the ferry comes. Hey, where'd she go? Now, Jessica Jones, I know that they don't show it in the TV show, but she can actually fly. Not just jump or controlled falling. That's how she describes her flying. She's actually capable of flying. She's just not good at it. At all. Anyway, she flies off the island and tries to land on shore. Undershots it just a little bit. And she falls right into the water. She gets up and all these people are there laughing at her. Whatever. They can't fly. So she goes home. I guess does the whole shower up and shave and whatever she needs to do. She's there for not even long enough to actually check her messages yet, and all of a sudden Misty Knight walks in. I love this. Right away, Jessica refers to her as the competition, and oh yes, yes she is. She walks in and she demands to know where the baby is. Oh wow, hey, that's right. Jessica Jones has a baby, a little daughter with Luke Cage. Yeah, I know guys, this is in the comics, not in the TV show. Let it slide. Well, that's actually a really good question because where is the kid? Especially if she's been in prison for a while. What the heck? And now Luke doesn't know where this kid is? Okay, not good. But Jessica's always been messed up in the head. That's one of the reasons why we love reading her so much. She's like a walking soap opera. Okay, so Misty actually gets infuriated and takes a swing at her. Now, normally a swing by Misty would be something special because she could punch with the sheer velocity of 1 ton plus of pressure with that bionic arm on her right hand. Hey, she should get together with Bucky. He's got the bionic arm on the left, and they could have a baby, well, with no arms. Anyway, Jessica catches her punch mid-swing, picks her up, and literally tosses her right out. Misty, from the other side of the door after it slammed in her face, she says, didn't realize you were so strong. Cool little comment here. She replies, no one ever does. By the way, she did all this while wearing a Dazzler t-shirt. That's got to say something. So now she goes to check her messages, and Carol Danvers, Carol calls. We've got to assume that it's Carol Danvers, because I don't know any other Carol. Well, it turns out she's also asking for the baby. Yeah, guess what? She doesn't get a return call. So now a Sophie Brownlee calls, and she's a potential client. Remember, Jessica's the owner/sole proprietor of Alias Investigations. She's a private detective. So she goes out to some little open-air cafe, and she's sitting there chilling out with this girl and taking notes. The girl goes into a really long-winded explanation about how she's not crazy, maybe her husband is, but she's not, or maybe she is, or blah, 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 blah. Realistically, this is one of the reasons why we loved this comic book, because the conversations, they sound very, very real. They're not artificial. This is how people actually talk, especially when they're nervous and they don't know what to say next, and, oh, this person is judging me. These are real sounding conversations. They sound like actual real people. So basically, Miss Brownlee says that her husband just woke up last month, basically, and said, hey, I don't know who you are. I don't know how we're married, but I was with this other woman for, 8 months, and we've got a daughter together, and my wife's name is Gwen, and my daughter's name is Norma, and we lived in Brooklyn, and now we live in Jersey City, and who are you anyway? I don't know what's going on. The woman also explains that she's been married to this guy for 11 years. Jessica goes on to ask all the normal questions. Is this guy crazy? Did he get hit on the head? He's probably got some kind of chemical imbalance, whatever. She says, what other information can you give me? She says that he told her that Peter Parker is a liar. Now, if you've ever read the original series for Jessica Jones back in the day, Jessica Jones was actually in love with Peter. She went to the same school that Peter Parker did. She just always had this big-time crush on Peter. So, of course, this gets her attention. So anyway, Sophie explains how she was looking all the stuff up on the internet and she found some big conspiracy where there are several people saying this, but mostly it's superheroes saying this sort of thing. And her husband's not a super. So when she sees all this stuff, she's just curious what's going on. Her lawyer told her to come to Jessica about this because Jessica had powers. But before that, she went to Dr. Strange to see if he could help her out with anything. He completely turned her down. It's funny, Jessica monologues to herself and she says, yeah, Strange, he's been getting pretty uppity lately. And she calls him Porn Stash. Come on, that's funny. A really cool thing also is that Sophie mentions, and where's the Fantastic Four as of late? How come nobody even mentions them anymore? Nobody talks about them. Ha ha ha, incursions. But that's the thing about it, the incursions. This guy is clearly from Earth 1610. Now this is going to get confusing, so just in a nutshell, the Earth that all the superheroes who we know and love and grew up with is Earth 616. It's always been that. It's just not explained in every issue. It's a big thing with Excalibur. It's not a big thing in all the other comics. But when you get into the multiverse idea, Earth 616 is the main Marvel universe that we've always followed. Now, Earth 1610 is the Ultimate Universe. So anybody who's ever read Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, Ultimate X-Men, any of those Ultimate comics, that is Earth 1610. That's a completely different universe in this big multiverse that we share. For the sake of conversation, Earth 1218 is the designation for this multiverse that Comic Book University is in, and you guys out there. Yeah, there's a classification for everything, and realistically, even the cartoons, the various cartoons that don't cross over with each other, they also have a designation. Different comics, different TV shows, different movies, everything has a classification because they're clearly not the same characters. So the Wolverine that's in the movies is different from the Wolverine that was in the X-Men 90s television series, which is also different from the Wolverine who was in the Amazing Spider-Man. I'm talking about that second run of the television series, but also the 90s one too. I mean, just, whatever. Which is different from the comics, and there have been many different kinds of comics, including the Age of Ultron one, where there were several Wolverines and one of them actually killed the other one. Yeah, it all gets confusing, but you know what? That's why you're attending Comic Book University. Cheap plug. So back to the story. She's listening to this girl and taking notes, and all of a sudden she looks up and she sees someone climbing on the side of the building. Yeah, it's Jessica Drew. Not to be confused with Jessica Jones, that's our hero from this particular story. But Jessica Drew, she's actually Spider-Woman, the original Spider-Woman. So Jessica excuses herself and goes to follow up, and she leaps on top of the building. She, once again, comes up a little shy and has to pull herself up. Once she gets up there, Jessica's kind of chastising her a bit. Hey, I thought prison was supposed to make you tough. So they have a really brief exchange, and finally Jessica Jones lays it right out. Listen, why are you here? Did Luke send you? Jessica Drew immediately asks, where's the baby? So clearly, yeah, she's been sent by Luke Cage. Jessica Jones brushes it off and leaves. So now it's nighttime and she's out spying on this guy to see, what's going on. She's got to prove that this guy's crazy because she really needs money. She needs a paycheck in the worst way. So she's just doing what she's got to do. The guy gets ready to start moving, go someplace else, and all of a sudden you hear, where's our daughter? Turn around and look, and there's Luke Cage standing right outside the window. Now, unless a cop car shows up with a shotgun in there, just like in the TV show, I get the feeling that this is going to be a pretty long, drawn-out, knock-down, drag-out brawl between these two. But we're going to have to wait until the next issue to find out. I love the idea that the next issue is called Case 2. I think every issue should just be called Case 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. You know, until the series doesn't want to run anymore. Anyway, this was a good comic. I really liked it. It wasn't unbelievable. There wasn't a whole lot of action in it. At one point, Miss Marvel, Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Nova go shooting by real quick. You know, nothing really big. But at the end of the day, Jessica Jones has some action in it. You know, I'm talking about the original series, but it's mostly been about the psychological thing. This is more of a cerebral comic, not so much as a fighting comic. So there wasn't any real fighting in this, except for the quick exchange between her and Misty, which was barely a fight to begin with. And I'm totally fine with that. I like the idea of a more mature comic where it's not just fisticuffs, where there's actually just engagement and verbiage going back and forth. Guys, this comic gets a thumbs up from Professor Bill. Guys, class dismissed.